pleasure to introduce our first speaker, and that is Agnes Tolmie. Agnes Tolmie is the chair of the Scottish Women's Convention and has been championing the cause of women in our movement for over 30 years, including equal pay and women's representation in political and in public life. This year we're delighted that Agnes Tolmie is the President of the STUC, and we would like you to give her a very warm welcome to Glasgow Mayday.
I welcome the opportunity to address you today. May Day and all its connotations in history hold a special significance for me. I have attended these celebrations since I was a child. I'm not going to tell you how many years that is. Suffice it to say, it is a privilege. I just wish I was speaking to you in better times. I'm not. We are living in times where we are faced with a coalition government intent on attacking and destroying our welfare state, public services, trade unions, and have allowed to go unchecked the NHS. We live in times where our long-cherished aims of an equal distribution of wealth and income are as far away as ever. Income inequalities in the UK are increasing at an alarming rate, towards disparities last seen in Victorian times. Since the 1970s, wages and earnings as a percentage of GDP have dropped massively. In contrast, last year, the remuneration of the top FTSE 100 directors increased by over 40%. But never mind, we are all in this together, and I don't think we'll be hearing that joke again. We were never in it together. When the current Shire came to power, I remember my husband saying to me, "This lot will be worse than Thatcher." And his thinking was that while she was intent on privatisation, destruction of our manufacturing base and the trade unions with it, this patrician lot are more ideologically driven. They want the destruction of the state. They care nothing about a state that exists to provide people with security and equality, that protects the weak against the strong, and that provides equality of opportunity for all. They have no interest in social or cultural provision. They are interested only in promoting the vested interests of their own class or friends, whether it be Rupert or Rothschild. And they do this by massive tax cuts for corporations and already rich people. This is supposed to encourage investment, claptrap. All it encourages is a huge tax avoidance industry whereby armies of accountants are employed to ensure that their even greater gains don't get taxed. The government expresses moral outrage, but meantime it's business as usual. If they were really serious about the economy, they would mount a sustained attack on organised tax avoidance, reform the national insurance system and many other mechanisms which would in turn lead to a more equal distribution of wealth and income, without which you cannot have a vibrant, sustainable economy. They can't be serious about the economy. Never. They made George Osborne Chancellor, a man who would know his Milton Friedman from his Milton Keynes. All they have to offer is austerity and cuts. It hasn't worked in Greece or Spain, and it won't work here. Austerity allied to rising unemployment will solve nothing. If people have no money to purchase goods or services provided by businesses, businesses will fold. People become unemployed and the economy stagnates. It really is that simple. Try telling that to Osborne. He keeps telling us that they are right to pursue these policies. Right for who? Not for the people facing economic meltdown. Savage pension cuts, rising bills, lower incomes and the rest. This government offers no hope, and our people are living in fear. Our young people fear the future, people in work fear unemployment, and older people fear rising costs and cuts. Fear is everywhere, yet the government do nothing but proceed with their austerity, or should it be misery measures, and indulge in the economic equivalent of crystal ball gazing. They don't know what will happen with the euro or the European political dynamic, yet they blunder on, causing untold damage to individual lives and society as a whole. There is poverty in this country, real poverty. In the year of the 200th anniversary of the birth of Charles Dickens, it would not be exaggerating to say that we are all witnessing a return to the days of Bleak House. He could be writing today the same heady mix of poverty, greed, corruption and collusion of crooked bankers and lawyers. He was not just a social historian, he was a harbinger of circumstances which have a resonance today. If we stand by and do nothing, we risk witnessing a tragedy of Shakespearean proportions. In the last few weeks, however, we could be forgiven for thinking we were watching a comedy of errors. Cash for access, jerry cans, granny tax, Jeremy Hunt. It should be funny, but it's not. These faux pas demonstrate a blend of corruption, incompetence and indifference which we have come to expect from this government. Make no mistake, comrades, we are not in this together and we never have been. This is a them and us situation, a class war if you will. How do we win this war? How do we remedy the inequalities and bridge the gap in health, wealth and living standards between the haves and the have-nots? How do we achieve the kind of society we want with equality and fairness for all? Well, it certainly won't be handed to us by a government hell-bent on making their rich pals even richer, hell-bent on further austerity cuts, wage freezes, and ideologically hell-bent on the destruction of our trade unions. This government has shown a marked reluctance to negotiate meaningfully with trade unions, witness the tanker drivers and public sector workers. The General Secretary of my own union, Unite, has been criticised in the press for hinting at bus and rail strikes during the Olympics because of the inconvenience and disruption it would cause. People losing their jobs, struggling to feed their children, pay their mortgages, and benefits taken from disabled children, people being forcibly relocated because their benefits won't cover the rent, a form of social cleansing. This is disruption. This is inconvenience on a grand scale. Who speaks for them? We all must. We cannot sit down waiting for the inevitable collapse of the coalition government. We know this will happen eventually, but in the interim, untold damage may be done to the social fabric of our country. Given the news this morning, the Conservatives may do our job for us and tear themselves apart as they reel from the disastrous losses in the local elections, where even the Penguin beat the Lib Dem man in Edinburgh. But in the words of Mike Kirby of Unison when he addressed the STUC last month in Inverness, our first duty is to win the argument for a fairer society. But when the force of argument fails, we will use the argument of force. The fight back has begun. The voters have spoken. It is now down to the Labour and trade union movement to continue that fight back. Thank you for inviting me today. As a Glaswegian and proud of this city and the results that Labour delivered, I am absolutely delighted to address you on this May Day. Thank you.